Hello and welcome. This is Ashley's Heart Song, and this is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that can steal our life. Welcome to today's show, all about leadership. We're going to be stepping into this adventure around leadership and the type of state that we need to be in when we lead in any aspect of our life. Because leadership isn't just about our businesses, it's about how we show up in every avenue of our life, whether it is in the way you serve, in the way you create and put together meals, in the way that you show up to eat. Leadership quality is all about who you are on the inside in any given moment. And today we're going to dive in a little bit more into this concept that leadership is a mindset that can truly transform your life. Truly, truly, truly. And I'll share a little bit about my experience in just a few minutes. But I want to ask you a question first. What if leadership wasn't just about a title, but it was about how you lead yourself every single day? How you are the leader for you in your life. We typically don't think about how we lead ourselves, but really, you've got to lead yourself before you can lead others. You've got to show up for yourself fully before you can lead others. And the way that we show up for ourselves fully is by first caring for our physical body, our soulful body, which is our mindset, our emotional set, our heart, and then the spirit of us, the spirit of who we are, why we're here on this planet. What is our mission, our reason for being, all of that. And when we tend to those things, when we take the time to be present and to be inside of all of this beingness that we are, and truly learn how to lead ourselves through this life, we begin to elevate, we begin to make traction moving forward. If we continue to be inside of the muck puddle of the past, or if we continue to fake it till we make it, many people that I have coached and worked with, they go through the syndrome where they feel like they're the pretender, where it's, they're just pretending, or they're just not fully grasping the role that they need to grasp. And so they fake it till they make it. And that is just a sabotaging agent that is keeping you from showing up fully for yourself. It's just a pattern. So when we learn how to work with these patterns and we learn that what that is isn't us, that we truly are this magnificent magnetic being. It's just the patterns of fear and ego that are showing up to hold us back, hold us hostage. So truly, this journey is about becoming. It's about our becoming. It's about our stepping fully into who we were designed to be. So I have a personal story in this. The place in my life where I hit rock bottom, the place in my life where I was so scared, so terrified that I had become afraid to eat, afraid to drive, afraid to go any place new. I kind of got to a point where I didn't want to leave the house. And all of that, I was just wanting this. And I would pull myself up by my bootstraps and I would step outside that door. I would take the next step forward, forcing myself to do it, to show up, to coach clients, to train them, to be there for my kids, to go to their soccer practices when really all I wanted to do was to go into my room and hide, because I was terrified, scared all the time. I was in major anxiety, an anxiety attack, the very first one that slammed into me, didn't leave me for a full year. It was constant. It was the most challenging time of my life was to overcome that. And then when it began to just kind of sit in the background, new fears cropped up: fear of eating, fear of just everything. But the fear of food was the biggest, because when you're afraid to eat, that's like this, signing of the permission slip to check out. And I was terrified. I thought, okay, the thing that kept living inside my head was, if I keep this up, then I will literally starve myself to death and I will no longer be here for my kids. My body's going to break down and I will no longer be here for them. And that terrified me more than not being able to eat the food, not being there for my kids. So my mind began to find that way out of it by seeing that the end result of me continuing on like this was so much worse. That pain was a lot worse than the pain I was living in. And that is what forces us to change, is that the pain of not changing is so much worse than the pain of staying the same. And so I knew that I had to change, because the end result of me not changing was horrific. It was horrific. And I couldn't do that. So I found this way. I sought help. I was looking for solutions. I was looking for freedom, and I sought it. I sought it out. I showed up and I listened and I put on, we have that reticular activating system. And it's the coolest thing, because the moment that I decided I didn't want to starve to death and die and leave my kids, the moment I realized that and decided I didn't want that, I wanted to heal, it was like all of a sudden, all of these opportunities for healing came to my door. And I'll never forget, being with family members and them not understanding them, why won't you just eat? What's the problem here? But they didn't understand that it was like a deer in headlights. I could not put the food in my mouth. It was terrifying, terrifying. And when people around you don't understand, that's not the place where you seek help. You know they love you. You know that they want you to find a way out of this. But when they can't identify with it, then they're not the ones to help you. You've got to seek that elsewhere. And when you put it on your heart, and I am a believer in Jesus, right? I believe that God is with me every single day, every single moment. And I believe that He did not leave me during that time of greatest angst and fear. I know that He didn't. And so when I would tap into that and tap into the solution, there is a solution for me. Where is it? What does it look like? And I found it. And that put me on the journey of healing, of courage, of passion, of enthusiasm. And those are the leadership states of operation that help us to come out of our sinkhole and into what life has to offer us, what your position that you're going for has to offer you, what your service and the way you serve in your family, whatever it is that you are seeking to grow in. Courage, passion, enthusiasm are the three key states of operation to help you rise out of that sinkhole, out of that muck puddle. Because when we show up in courage, studies show that courage is the tipping point. Courage is the place. It is in Dr. David R. Hawkins. He developed this map of consciousness, and it assigns vibrational frequencies to emotional states using applied kinesiology. And courage at 200 hertz is the tipping point into empowerment, because fear is at 100, shame is at 20. So when we can go from that fear state of mind that is just knocking us on our butt, and when we can step out of that and into courage. Courage has this magnetic ability within us to shift and change things to where we can begin moving forward. We can take that brave step forward out of that muck puddle and into what it is we desire. So we first must wear the state of operation of courage. What does that mean to wear a state of operation? What does that mean to put it on, to be that state of operation? It's about adopting it. It's about the state of mind of courage, the words that are in your head, the body language behind it, all of that. Courage, it's about stepping out and into more, stepping out of where you are and into the possibility of what is to come. It's the hope, it's the God's confidence hope that when you take that step into the new, onto the new path, that is where the courage begins to take hold. And it begins to create the map of what it is that you would desire. So courage is taking the steps toward growth in spite of the fear. So courage is truly about seeing the fear, knowing it's still there, but taking a step forward anyway, a brave step forward. Passion is about fueling your actions with meaning. So when we take our heart song, our reason for being, the definition of who we are at our core, when we take that into ourselves and we fuel ourselves with that, fuel our actions with that, then that gives it meaning. And so as you're taking that courageous step forward, the heart song, the passion begins to fuel that step forward. It fuels it and it brings life to you and it brings possibility. It brings that hope into you. And then you're able to transform that into enthusiasm. And the passion enthusiasm rates so high on the megahertz, it rates so high. I believe passion and enthusiasm are like around 800. And they tip you over into that new realm of possibility. So enthusiasm is showing up with the energy, even if things are not ideal, even if you're not all the way out of the muck puddle of fear, it doesn't matter. When you are beginning to transform your state of operation and you show up enough with that passion, with that courage, top it off with that cherry of enthusiasm and showing up with that energy, the oh, the goodness of it, the giddiness of it, when you're showing up with that, you begin to transform on the inside, and that brings that magnetic capability to where it spills over into everything that you're doing, spills over into all the people you're coming into contact with. That is the leadership state of operation that brings possibilities, that opens new doors. Ah. So how do we become that biological equivalent? How do we embody it every single day? We want to embody these vibrational frequencies of courage, of passion, of enthusiasm. We want to embody them, these emotional states. So what you do is you spend time visualizing what it feels like. And when I reflect back on my time in the muck puddle, when I reflect back on that, I see what I did. Every night, in order to fall asleep, I would do about an hour of yoga and about another hour of meditation. And inside that meditation, my whole intention for being inside that meditation of a still mind, visualizing what it is I would love. But inside of that was so much more of visualizing what I would love. It was being inside the peace of it, being inside the courage that it was taking for me to even be silent and still. Because those of you who have experienced anxiety know that the brain just keeps going constant, 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 constant. It never stops, never, never, never stops. The chit chatting goes on and on and on and on. And when you slow down or in silence, it's very scary because you're used to the chatterbox. But then when you're silent, the question in your mind is, oh no, now what's going to happen? Now what's going to happen? And so it's the unknown territory that can be very scary. But being inside of that took courage for me. So I was beginning to build that courage muscle, the muscle that would help me to stand fully into the passion, inside the passion of healing, inside the passion that was leading me in life, that had never left me through all of this time. There was this passion within me that knew that I was meant for so much more. I was meant for more than the fear, more than the muck puddle, more than all of that. And I know you are too. And you've probably felt that. But the smack talk drowns it sometimes. But when I was in that meditation, I began to fuel the courage. I began to fuel the passion. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. But doing that over and over and over again began to bring on that biological equivalent of that, so that when I sought help and really took that step forward, I had built up the courage to do that because I had been living inside of it every night. I had built up the passion within me to heal. I had built in the enthusiasm to show up with energy for that healing process. I was all in on the healing. Being that biological equivalent has a magnetic pull, and that is the way that I received that help that I needed so desperately, was because I was sending out a signal that was looking for that opportunity to grow, that opportunity to heal. And that magnetic pull brought in so much goodness. Other places that are doing the work on this vibrational frequency in your state of operation I'm talking about is the Heart Math Institute. They are showing that research on the emotions like gratitude and compassion I find this so fascinating. They create a coherence between the heart and the brain, improving immune function, hormonal balance, and emotional resilience. This is not woo-woo stuff, y'all. It has always been known as kind of woo-woo-y, but it's not woo-woo-y at all. We are proving it. And what I love so much is that Annette Capps and her father, I cannot remember his name, but they wrote a book. She wrote a book called Quantum Faith. And inside of Quantum Faith, it's this little bitty book. Inside Quantum Faith, she speaks about this. And how in the Bible, all of this is already written up. It's already proven through the Bible that we hold this magnetic pole. We have these frequencies, the vibrations within us that send out a ripple effect that make things come to pass. What you speak is what will come about. And so this really isn't new. It is since the beginning of time. It's since God spoke the world into existence. This is not woo-woo. This is real. So fun, so fun, so fun. So what are simple habits that you can do? I want you to have some takeaways from this podcast. And what are some simple things that you can do to strengthen this leadership quality within you? Number one is breath work. Breath work helps us to shift into that parasympathetic state, into that ease state. And that's what, when I was doing the yoga and the meditation, Breath work is very involved in that. And it was the breath work that helped my body to shift so that I could go into that meditation with a quieter mind. And meditation is the second thing that you can do. So start with breath work, deep breathing, exercises like breathing in for 4, exhaling for 8, holding for 8. Diaphragmatic breath in for 4, exhale for 8, hold the exhale for 8, repeating that over and over again. You can also do another breath work that's another fun count to do is to inhale for 2, exhale for 4. If you are in a very high anxiety stress state, that one will be the more comfortable breath work to do because holding your exhale for 8 counts when you have been in a high anxiety state is very difficult. You will feel like you've got to gasp for breath. And when you do the 4-8-8, you don't want to be gasping. You want it to be comfortable. So if you're in a high anxiety state, high stress state, inhale for 2 counts through the nose, exhale for 4 counts through the mouth. Inhale 2 counts through the nose, exhale 4 counts through the mouth. Do that over and over and over again, 3, 5, 10 minutes, however long you can do it. And then once you feel yourself shift into a more relaxed state, then you can do the breathing in for 4 diaphragmatically through the nose, exhaling for 8 through the nose or through the mouth, doesn't matter, holding the exhale for 8 counts. Then breathing in for 4 through the nose, exhaling through the nose or the mouth for 8 counts. So breathing in for 4, exhaling for 8, holding for 8. And do that for 3, 5, 10 minutes, however long. So those are just a couple of breath work counts that you can work with to get started on this. And then after that, go into a mindful meditation. In a mindful meditation, what you're looking to do is to clear the mind of thoughts for as long as possible. So my recommendation is that you stare at something for as long as you can until your eyes want to naturally close. So you're staring at an object, candlelight, an object of a circle, a heart, whatever you would love, a tree, a flower. Stare at that as long as you would love until your eyes naturally begin to close. So your eyes will naturally close when your breath work and what you've been staring at they just kind of merge together. And your eyes will close and you maintain the breath work. So your body by this time will hopefully be breathing you. And then you have your mind clear of all thought. So really the attention is on your breath and your breath only. And that's it. And then when a thought comes through, you just let it pass through. Do not engage. Just let it pass through and hold that attention on your breath again. And you do that over and over and over and over again until you can keep your mind clear for longer spans of time. It is a muscle that we must build. The third thing you can do is movement of the body. You can do that for 5, 10 minutes in the morning. You could go on a long walk. You could do a boot camp workout, any kind of movement that feeds your soul. You can do moving meditations like Tai Chi, Qigong. Any kind of movement at all for the physical body is beneficial. And I recommend 30 minutes to an hour a day at least. And then intentional action. Intentional action is the fourth habit that you'll want to take. And I recommend your first intentional habit being inside of courage, taking that courageous, actionable step forward to shift and change your life. Something that will move you forward out of that muck puddle. All right, so your question for today is, what's one area where I need more enthusiasm, passion, and courage? Ask yourself that. To get started, you ask yourself that one question. What's the area where I need more enthusiasm, passion, and courage? because you may not have all that anxiety the way that I was experiencing. You may be stressed. You may be running Mach 10 with your hair on fire. You may use the word busy often. And if you use busy, that spells busy, if you use that often or the word chaotic often, then these exercises are for you, because we are not intended to live inside of that, because inside of busy and chaos, there is no leadership. Leadership is about calm confidence. Leadership is about ease. It is about standing in strength and moxie. It is about courage, enthusiasm, passion. That's what leadership is about. It's not about busy and chaotic. If you're busy and chaotic, then you will want to shift your state of operation away from that pattern and into the pattern of enthusiasm. There's a mantra that you can adopt, and it is, I lead my life with energy, heart, and courage. I lead my life with energy, heart, and courage. Because remember, we must be a leader of ourselves before we can ever be a leader of others. Be that leader to yourself. I lead my life with energy, heart, and courage. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today for Ashley's Heart Song. Please join us each week as we continue to armor up our lives. I'll see you next time.